Hello and welcome to Ball Around the Head. I'm joined yet again by Andrew and Ben. And first things first, we're going to obviously talk about the GOAT, Tom Brady. He won the Super Bowl to win his seventh ring, his fifth, Super Bowl MVP. I think, in my opinion, there's no more discussion on who the GOAT in football is. At least you can discuss if he's the GOAT of all time. That's a big discussion we could potentially have in the future. But I think it's no debate. He's the GOAT. He won with two teams. He's won seven. Do you guys have any thoughts on Tom Brady winning his seventh Super Bowl yesterday?
He's the all-time GOAT. And I'm very happy that Tom Brady is the all-time GOAT because it was Michael Jordan as of November 6th. November 7th, on the other hand, now we're getting to a different conversation. I think that Tom Brady – Super Bowl was yesterday, right?
It's February.
Same difference. Same difference. Same difference. Anyways, Tom Brady's the GOAT. All-time sports.
I thought maybe you were like – I was thinking in my head, like, is that when the Jordan documentary came out?
That's what I was thinking too. Like, wait a minute.
But
I think it might have came out in November.
So what's football? Like, are there other sports? I don't.
That's true.
I'm a Chargers fan, so their mind is not football. Might as well not.
Hey, Justin Herbert, offensive player of the year. If Oliver's in the chat, he would be going crazy right now.
April 19th, by the way, is when The Last Dance first aired.
So maybe in a future episode we can have a full discussion about this. But I'm gonna ask you guys right now. Andrew basically gave his opinion. Is Tom Brady the GOAT of every sport?
Ben, do you want to?
Yeah.
Really? You think so?
I do.
I mean, is it that simple?
One of the things is that the quarterback position, it's hard to find a position in other sports that's impactful as the quarterback position. Yeah. So
I think he's the greatest winner of all time. I think one could argue Bill Russell, blah, 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 but I think Tom Brady is the greatest winner. I think athlete, it's a different story. But that's a greatest athlete of all time. But I think just in terms of legacy, winning, and all of that, and stats, Tom Brady has to be the GOAT of all sports. Of course, LeBron could catch up. He could win a couple more rings. Mahomes is still young. He could do it, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. Right now, I agreed with Andrew's post yesterday. I think Tom Brady is up there. By the way, if you haven't seen that post, you should follow us on Instagram at Ball Around the Head. So, yeah, there's our football talk. We're not really a football podcast, but we are a basketball podcast. And a kind of big deal of a trade occurred a couple of days ago. I believe on Super Bowl Sunday it actually happened. The Knicks and the Pistons agreed to a deal that sent Derrick Rose to the Knicks in exchange for Dennis Smith Jr. and a 2021 second-round pick, which is basically the Hornets.
Wow, Dennis Smith Jr.?
And
he just went to the G League.
Andrew's talking, so let's give it to Andrew. Andrew, what do you think about this trade?
Well, this is the first time. I'm sorry if I interrupted, but it's the first time that I'm hearing about who was traded. I literally just looked it up. I knew Derrick Rose was traded earlier to the Knicks. I'm pretty sure he already played for the Knicks and it went horribly, so I don't know why he would. I mean, maybe he had no say in it. But is this a good trade for the Knicks? I mean, they're in playoff contention, surprisingly. They need a point guard? Yeah, they do actually need a point guard. So Derrick Rose is not the worst point guard out there, and he already has franchise history, so I think it was okay pickup. And they got rid of Dennis Smith Jr., who's like, I'm kind of a better player than the Knicks franchise. I don't really want to be a role player on this team. I don't really want to help the team. I want to be Dennis Smith Jr., so, I mean, good for him. I guess he got out of a bad situation.
Yeah, but they didn't play him at all, and that's why he asked to go to the G League, so they gave him to a team – the Pistons, I believe, has the worst record in the NBA. Their rookie point guard's out for the year, so maybe he's going to get an increased role. Maybe he can make the most out of it. Ben, what do you think about this trade?
Yeah, I like it for the Pistons, and for the Knicks, this feels more like the Knicks that I know, like name chasing, going after getting Derrick Rose. But it doesn't. I don't think it's as bad as in the past. Like Derrick Rose has kind of come alive recently. I don't know how much is left on his contract. Can't be that much, right?
This is his last year.
Yeah, so That's a lot better than what the Knicks have done in the past. I think it'll be fine. I don't think it's going to make a difference. The Knicks are not making the playoffs this year, but they're not. Like, they're going to fall off I think.
Okay.
I mean, it's only the 10th seed. They only need to make the 10th.
And we'll probably get into more detail about it later. The bottom of the East is just a mess, and not in a good way. It's just, whoa.
That's true, though, Andrew. They might have a chance at the 10th seed.
Yeah, playing for Knicks fans would be amazing. They would go crazy. A couple of notes before I go into my answer. A fun fact, I guess. Derrick Rose has played for Tom Thibodeau on the Timberwolves, Bulls, and now the Knicks. So he's played for them every single time. Same with Taj Gibson. Every time Thibodeau goes somewhere, Gibson and Rose has followed. That's just an interesting note. My thoughts on this trade, considering the price, that's a great get for the Knicks and a good gamble by the other team, the Pistons, because like Andrew said, Dennis Smith Jr. was a lottery pick not that long ago. He hasn't really played at all recently. So the Pistons are taking a gamble, kind of like they're doing with Josh Jackson, who had a great game against the Lakers the other day, like they're doing with a bunch of other players. Hey, if you work out, you could stick around. If not, we're rebuilding, so it doesn't matter. And he's a free agent after this year, so if he's not bad, they can just get rid of him. But for the Knicks, I get why they did it. Rose is a good player, and again, that price, I'm surprised a contender didn't pay more than that. Like, that was not that good of a return for the Pistons. But they have a lot of point guards now, 3 that should definitely play. Elfrid Payton, Emmanuel Quickley, and now Derrick Rose, and Frank Ntilikina, who doesn't even play anymore. So Emmanuel Quickley is the rookie who's actually playing really well and is getting blocked by Payton. And then what do? They get him blocked by Derrick Rose too. So there's some rumors that teams are interested in Elfrid Payton. So maybe that's why. But Elfrid Payton has a no trade clause. So if he doesn't like the situation, he probably won't go, obviously. So I like the price for both teams. Like, it's a gamble, but I'm just confused why a contender didn't step in considering this price. I'm just very confused about that. Maybe the Knicks trade him at the deadline for a first. Maybe that's part of their plan. Who knows?
Didn't 2-8 Nick rebuild master plan?
I mean, yeah, everyone was saying the Clippers, Lakers, all those top teams, and it was the Knicks. And everyone's like, why? But
I'm telling you, the Lakers better get Derrick Rose. He needs a ring.
That's what everyone was saying. He needs to go to a champion. He needs to win a ring before this is all said and done. And you're not winning a ring with the Knicks this year. I could promise you that.
How old is Derrick Rose? 25?
No, God, no. He's like 31, 32.
That's a little close. I give him 4 more years.
So we're going to try something new on this podcast. Normally we go in sync, in order, just asking questions and then giving answers. But this time we're just going to try something different. Let us know how you guys feel about it. We're just going to have like an open discussion in a way. We're going to have a topic and then branch off it. It's something that it could be fun, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And if you could tell by the title of this podcast and or YouTube video, we're going to discuss if the West is better than the East, because this year the West has kind of dominated the East for the majority of the part. And people assumed like the East is better than the West this year, and it's not been the case. Anyone want to go ahead and give the reasoning why the East could be better or could be worse than the West?
Note, coming into the day, the West is 73-44 against the East this year. And there are only 4 teams in the East above 500 as of right now, out of 15 teams. I don't know, like a lot of teams like the Wizards, the Heat, and the Raptors, who we are a lot worse than we thought they were. And I mean, there's a lot of teams in the West who haven't been adding like huge names, but have just been slowly developing because they're young. And so the West is a lot better than we thought it was compared to the East.
I'm doing some quick math right now, but I'm following what you're saying.
Right. I'll just jump in. I thought the same thing. Like, yeah, the East has some pretty bad teams at the bottom. Like the Pistons, like I said, are one of the worst teams in the league. The Heat are underperforming. The Magic are horrible. The Wizards are extremely underperforming. They're not good. So I thought that, and I'm like, okay, maybe that's why they have a better record. But then you look at the top of the East, and you're like, whoa, maybe not. We got the best record against the West for an Eastern Conference team this year is Brooklyn at 5-3, which is good, but not that good. And then we got Philadelphia 2-3, Milwaukee 3-3, Boston 3-4, Indiana 5-6, and Atlanta 4-5. That's bad. Let's see. We got one over 500 and one at 500. Besides that, they're all under 500 against the West. And to that point, I'm like, wait, this could be misleading. And let's talk about the Sixers real quick. I said they're 2-3, but if you look at their 3 losses, first one, they lost. One was pretty bad to the Trailblazers the other day when they were without Ben Simmons, but the Trailblazers were missing like half their team, so they had to win that. They lost it. But the other 2, kind of excusable. One was against the Nuggets when they had half their team out, so it was like no one thought they were going to win. And the other one against the Grizzlies when Joel Embiid was out. So some of them have circumstances where it makes it like, oh, I understand why they lost, and the stats could be misleading. But for the majority, the West is just dominating the East.
Yeah, I think it's too many games to say that it's just a coincidence. Like over 100 games, and they're over 60% win percentage against the East. I mean, and one of the reasons that's surprising is, like you said, you look at the top of the East and there's so much talent there. You know, the Bucks got Drew Holiday, the Nets, Irving's healthy, Durant's healthy. They get James Harden. Like, they're sucking a lot of talent out of the West, and it's not translating, you know?
Yeah, I just did some quick math on the records for the top 4 teams on the East and the West, and I thought that the Eastern Conference would get more wins, but it's 58-67. So I guess the Western Conference top 3 or 4 teams is just like better winning, and I feel like only 4 teams really matter in the playoffs. So I mean, if the seeding really accounts to anything in the playoffs, the top 4 Western teams really are better than the top 4 Eastern teams. Although I would argue that the 76ers would be a top 4 team in the East. I mean, it's hard to say that they'd be better than the Jazz. It's hard to say they'd be better than the LA teams.
Andrew, never eat soggy worms.
The West?
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, 76ers, I think they're like the only hope for the East right now. And the Nets in the playoffs, but not in the regular season. I feel like playoff basketball is all that really matters. Are the Eastern teams better in the playoffs than the Western teams? The way that the teams are constructed and the way that the stars are on each team, I would argue Western Conference teams are built less for the playoffs than the Eastern Conference teams. What do you think about that?
You know, that's interesting because I saw a stat where, like, in the regular season, the West has beat the East like the last 19 years straight or something crazy like that. But the champions, I don't remember exactly what it was, but they were pretty mixed, like in terms of who won the NBA championship.
Mm-hmm. So I guess it really just matters. The battle to the finals really matters. I mean, just got to be lucky. Go against the Celtics, go against the Bucks. It's kind of free wins. So
low blow. A little fun stat I noted for the West side of things. I looked at the whole entire conference against the East and see how they're faring. And there's only 2 teams out of all 15 that have an under 500 record against the East. Only 2. One of them's the Timberwolves, who are just horrible this year. So throw them away. The Warriors.
Trasher Wolves? No, it's horrible.
that was okay. And the Warriors are 4-5, who I'm still struggling to figure out who the Warriors are. Are they a playoff team, and then they lose to a horrible team, then they beat a good team, then it's like today they just – I don't know if you guys saw, because it was right before this podcast started, but they were at San Antonio tonight, and they were down 3. They inbounded the ball to Draymond. He thought they were going to foul him, and he chucks up a half-court shot, completely bricks it, and then ruins the game for the Warriors.
Wow, Draymond.
That was funny to see. And it was a good play by the Spurs to like fake foul him. So he just chucked up a 3 and they didn't touch him. And then the Warriors lost. But anyways, the Jazz are spectacular this year. Out of nowhere, they're just like a really, really good team.
Rudy Gobert, he's got his money.
What'd you say?
Rudy Gobert has his money. He's motivated this year.
Rudy Gobert and Mitchell, they both signed huge contract extensions this offseason, so they're locked into that core. And I actually wrote a little piece today on a different website. I'm not going to talk about it, but I saw that the Bojan Bogdanovic, Royce O'Neal, and Joe Ingles trio, they're like other guys that need to contribute. They're all shooting above 40% from three this year. And if they get that, as much as like people don't want to hear it, this Jazz team is scary. Mike Conley is playing like Mike Conley that we know. Donovan Mitchell not having the best efficient year, but he's still putting up 23 points per game. Rudy Gobert, as much as he's a very hated player in the NBA, he is one of the best shot blockers in the league, and it's not really a debate. They have a good team, and a lot of people are just like, they don't care because it's not a popular team like LA or like the Warriors, so they don't really care. It's just the Jazz, they'll get out first round. But if you actually look at the stats and just watch the games, they're good.
Yeah, and
they win away.
Speaking of the Jazz, Donovan Mitchell, I was kind of appalled at how few votes he got in the first return of All-Star voting. I know his stats are not as good, but as the leader of the team who has the best record in the league, I just thought he'd get more. It's like a fifth of what he needs to get into the starting spot.
Every year, I have hope for the All-Star voting. Every year, I think, this is the year they're going to vote the people that actually deserve to be in. It's a popularity contest.
I've never made it, so just saying.
There you go.
For goodness sake, Klay Thompson almost got 100,000 votes, and he has not stepped on the court in almost 2 years, and he got 100,000 votes. Like, it's just dumb how people – and I love how Bradley Beal got a lot of votes, and you can tell it's just people who feel bad for him. He missed last year when he should have made it, and then this year he's on a horrible team, so they're just giving him sympathy votes. But he deserves the votes, so I'm glad he's getting sympathy votes. And then Brooklyn's going to be on top of that list because it's the Kyrie, KD, they're popular. I mean, KD deserves it, but Kyrie and Harden arguably doesn't even deserve to be an all-star starter.
Honestly, not a starter.
Yeah, it's just a popularity contest, and it's dumb. And I just like I don't know why I vote anymore, to be honest with you.
But who are the popular players? The good ones.
What?
Like, who are the popular players? Maybe not the good ones, but I think
I'm thinking of the ones that aren't like deserving, like LeBron and KD. They deserve it. They're popular and they deserve it. Curry, popular and deserves it. Doncic, you can have a little debate. It's
Luka Doncic. Come on, man.
Luka and Damian of who should start in the backcourt. I don't think anyone else is really up for debate there.
True.
The front court, there's Paul George. I know you don't want to hear that. Kawhi Leonard, LeBron, Jokic, Davis, Ingram's playing great. People vote for Zion because he's Zion. There's a bunch of people up there who could be voted. Tatum, Giannis, KD, Embiid, Siakam, Van Vliet. Your boy wasn't even top 10. He got no votes. Oh yeah.
He dropped 50. He dropped 50 the day of All-Star voting. How did he not get any votes?
By the way, for those of you who missed our last podcast, this dude on the far right might be the next commissioner of this NBA. He discussed saying they should, why don't they have a slam dunk or 3-point? And literally 12 hours later, they're like, the league might actually have a slam dunk and 3-point. And then he goes on our previous one, hey, Van Vliet should be an all-star. Guess what? A couple of days later, Van Vliet drops 50. It's like, whoa. So whenever he
Raptors all-time scoring record.
Yeah, Raptors record doesn't matter though. Come on, it's Van Vliet. He's like the LeBron. It's a 23 curse. Like, you have a really bad team, you just have to carry him. Whatever. Van Vliet's got it.
If I can slide back into the topic,
yeah,
I want to say something for the bottom of the East. I'm okay. For those who don't know, I'm a nerd. I keep standings. I make sure like I can see what's going on. And the sixth, all the way to arguably, let's say 14th. There's only a 3.5 game difference. Technically speaking, the Wizards are 3.5 games out of the East, out of the 8th seed. Like, if you want to be technical, and they beat the Bulls tonight, impressive win. Actually, I want to ask you guys a question. Throw off your bias hat towards Westbrook, because I know he's a lot of people don't like him for some reason. They just don't like him. recently the Wizards, when he plays, they get blown out. And when he doesn't play, they're actually kind of decent. What is going on there?
I haven't watched enough Wizards basketball to know how exactly Westbrook is impacting them. I mean, I know Beal has been putting on shows, and I know that they don't have any defense. But I can't explain why they're better without Westbrook.
Probably because Westbrook gets a million turnovers a game. And also, he's just like a selfish player. And I understand where Westbrook is coming from. Trying to be a baller on your team, trying to do as much as you can to win. But at the end of the day, you just got to trust your teammates, Westbrook. I used to play a sport back in the day where I didn't trust my teammates, called volleyball. But not basketball. It's like I didn't even play enough to not trust my teammates. But for volleyball, I know what it's like for Russell Westbrook. I feel bad for him. He's trying his hardest, and he's just getting.
You trusted the blocky talkies, Andrew.
Yeah, that is true. The blocky talkies were pretty clean, but that's Bradley Beal. It was Ben and Andrew, Bradley Beal and Westbrook, and sometimes I'd make it harder. But hey, at the end of the day, I voted an All-Star.
So then, who's the Westbrook out of you two?
Me, no question about it.
Yeah, I'm the Bradley Beal.
Yeah. Just like the quick little example is they literally got demolished by the Hornets, I think yesterday, and then today they beat a Bulls team, which I think is worse than the Hornets without Westbrook. So it's just like, what is happening? I know people are just saying like, oh, casuals think they're better without Westbrook, but the stats kind of show they kind of are. So, and the interesting thing is, if they were to trade him, who would want him? Like
at this point, like you gotta wonder.
I've seen Mavs. Have you seen the Mavs? Like how the Mavs would not even fit with Westbrook.
Doing that. I can very well see them doing that because they're in desperate mode. I mean, to be fair, they're only 2.5 games out, but they're also 14th in the conference. So
I don't think they're that desperate though.
Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell will get traded. Actually, Willie Cauley-Stein, man, he's so bad.
We're like a month and a half away from the trade deadline, and that's when these are when the rumors start picking up, and you're gonna start seeing Oladipo is what I've been hearing going to Dallas potentially, because it doesn't look like the Rockets are very interested in making the playoffs, although they're doing good recently, but it doesn't seem like they care. I have a question for you guys, actually. Off the top of your head, like I just said, trade deadline's a month and a half away. In your opinion, who's the biggest name that's going to be traded at the trade deadline?
I got to look at NBA trade. Lonzo Ball has actually been out there. Although he's probably not the best player. He's a huge name in the NBA. He just has a huge fan base. I've seen Lonzo Ball to the Heat. I've seen him to the Warriors weeks ago. It was the Heat the next day. I woke up this morning and it was Lonzo Ball to a really bad team. I felt bad for him. Probably the Knicks, I think. I don't remember, but it was just another Lonzo Ball rumor. So he's definitely going to get traded. I don't know why they would trade him. I've seen Tyler Hero trade. They should not get rid of Tyler Hero. I mean, they have a song. Literally, Jack Harlow has a song, Tyler Hero. And then I think that Lonzo Ball is like a Pelican. He and Zion should match well together. So don't trade him, man. Come on, man. I want to buy a Lonzo Pelicans jersey, and I don't want to regret it.
I mean, if he gets traded, the jersey will be cheaper.
True.
Ben?
I think it could actually be Westbrook, now that I think about it. With how bad the Wizards are doing. But I don't know. I haven't been keeping on top of the rumors.
Kyle Lowry? Kyle Lowry's on 1 year.
Lowry. I've heard some rumors, rumblings here and there, that this year a lot of teams, and I told you guys, I gave you guys the standing little stats, the 14th seed in the East is only 3.5 games out, and the 14th seed in the West is only 2.5 games out. So the rumor around is that there might not be a lot of teams that want to sell. They want to get players instead. And they're saying whoever wants to sell is going to get a lot of assets in return because they'll be the only team that's willing to trade.
Andrew Wiggins, maybe.
So there's some rumors out there that like this could be like one of the worst trade deadlines of all time, like literally no movement. Or it could be complete fire sale from like a Kings who are surprisingly doing really well. Like shout out to the Kings. But they could trade like a Harrison Barnes. He'll get a huge package because he was in finals. He was in the finals before. He's a championship. He has championship experience. The West, like you said, Westbrook. And if the Wizards, although we had a podcast about this, they finally said like, no, we're not doing it no matter what. Beal's like, yeah, I'm good. If they were to somehow change their mind and trade Beal, that's a bunch of teams will be calling. A bunch of teams, and that's going to be a huge deal. But if I had to guess who would be the biggest name traded, I think I got to go with Andrew. I think Lonzo, just because I don't think a lot of moves are going to happen this year. I just think a bunch of picks are gone. They can't really trade picks. It's just not going to be a good deadline, in my opinion. I don't know.
KC, I've seen actually rumors that Marc Gasol will get traded from the Lakers. Maybe pick up Jared Allen. I don't think they would trade Marc Gasol for Jared Allen because another old center to the Cavs. Come on now. But
I don't think Cleveland would ever do that.
Yeah, but I have seen Marc Gasol trades just floating around for other centers.
They could very well trade him.
I mean, he still gets a ring. He still gets a ring. So
I mean, he's not on the good side of 30. He's kind of nearing the end of his career. He's not as good as he used to be, obviously. And I could easily see them trade him if there's a better like option out there. Obviously, you always gonna want to upgrade your team. You don't want to.
Pau Gasol, get him out of retirement.
Man, I was hoping that Pau Gasol would sign with the Lakers, just like end his career. And he's said a million times, like, "Hey, I'm waiting for them to call me." And I mean, obviously, they never called him. But yeah, that'd be a cool story because Pau Gasol, Laker legend. He was on the teams with the let me think. Robert Sacre, Laker legend as well. I'm trying to think of some of the players on that team.
It just
maybe like Kobe.
No, Kobe was hurt during those years. It was like just complete garbage on the court. Like
you're talking about after 2010?
Oh yeah, I'm talking about like 2013, 2014 when Pau Gasol was like the only decent NBA player on the team.
Yeah, 2012. I mean, I don't like that year, but 2012 when Kobe was injured and literally Dwight Howard, the world's worst Lakers center up until 2020.
And Steve Nash.
Steve Nash, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was an experiment that did not go well.
I'm surprised Kobe even let him on the team. Him and Steve Nash did not like each other because Steve Nash robbed Kobe of MVPs. Robbed him, man!
And now Steve Nash is... Do you think Steve Nash is doing a good job with the Nets?
No. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they hired the wrong coach. Maybe for a rebuilding team, just hire Steve Nash and see what happens. But I get they didn't have Harden at the beginning of the year, but they still had KD and Kyrie, and they had championship expectations. So you hire a guy who has never, ever, ever, ever coached an NBA game, who has been out of the league, just like, I think he was like coaching soccer or something like that just last year.
Really?
And they're hiring him to be a head coach to lead notable drama queens. By the way, shout out to my boy KD for whatever happened on Saturday, Friday, whatever it was, when they took him out of the game, they put him back in the game, and then took him out of the game, and he's just like, free me, what is happening? And now he's out for a week. I don't know what that was. I don't know why they let him play if he was potentially exposed. I don't get why they did that. It was just a whole mess. I don't know why that happened.
Apparently, there were some players or some people who had inconclusive tests that he'd been around, even though he'd had a bunch of negative tests. And then they were inconclusive, and then there was some miscommunication, and they put him in the game. And then those tests came back positive, and then they took him out of the game. Just free me.
The league is preying on KD's downfall, but I am too, because Lake is in boat.
It's true.
I'm gonna switch this subject a little bit, and I'm gonna just rant a little bit. I think, and you can hear a bunch of these star players. I've said this recently. An all-star game shouldn't be happening. and I agree. This is I'm pretty sure there's someone said that it's not official, but I thought it was. But I guess they agreed it's not official yet, though, that they're gonna have an All-Star game, and a bunch of people, most notably LeBron James. There's Giannis Antetokounmpo, a bunch of those. Kawhi Leonard even spoke out.
When did he say something? He never speaks.
I want to say Friday. I think Friday after the Celtics game, he said something. Because that's when LeBron spoke too, I believe, on Friday. But they're just saying,
copies LeBron though.
They're like, I'll be there, but I don't want to be there. And like they're preaching safety and everything. So why would you do this when no other sport had an All-Star game, Pro Bowl, whatever you want to call it? Why would you do this? And the answer is money. It's obvious. It's an obvious answer, but they're risking these people's like health just for a couple. I mean, not a couple bucks, but it's dumb. And the players don't want $1 million. I'd be surprised if they go through with this because I think Silver is probably hearing these guys saying, "Yeah, I don't really want to do this." And he'll probably back away, but who knows? I just think it's a horrible idea.
Yeah, because the thing you gotta understand is like it's not like a regular season game where it's two teams. You know, these guys from every 10 or so teams per conference coming together, and then they go back to their respective teams. It's way more dangerous than any individual game.
Mm-hmm.
Just for
dunk contest, though.
A quick 2-hour game and then head back home and you can't travel out of the state, which I understand. Like you should stay around, but the players have, I think it's like 5 days off and they have to go to Atlanta, play a game, come back and hope you didn't expose your team. And it's just a dumb idea. Let's just say that. It's just a dumb idea that I hope they scratch.
I'm going to vote all the Celtics players now. Do you think it's a bad idea?
Yes, do that. But even if they don't have an All-Star game, they're still going to have All-Stars.
Oh, yeah. Never mind. I take it back.
You can vote all Celtics.
What Celtics do you think will actually be All-Stars? Because Kemba Walker is not going to be an All-Star. I just wanted to make fun of Kemba Walker today. He will not be an All-Star, although I have seen trade talks to I literally just saw this on my phone. I'm like, oh my goodness. The 76ers supposedly need a point guard that could score. And I'm like, they have Ben Simmons. But Kemba Walker trade talks to 76ers, probably just some random, horrible take.
There's no way Boston trades someone important to Philadelphia. There's no way that happens.
Why is he important to Philly? Is he from Philly?
No. I'm saying they're not going to trade an important piece of their team to Philadelphia.
How is he important?
Unless they feel like they're finessing them, aka what happened a couple of years ago when they traded basically Markelle Fultz for Jason Tatum.
AKA Danny Ainge, every single trade he's ever made.
Exactly. He doesn't trade anybody unless he's like, oh, I'm definitely winning this trade. And then he pulls the trigger. Even if it's like, oh, you'll win, I'll win. He's like, nah, I'm good. I need to win this trade. That's why he doesn't really make that many blockbuster trades recently, because a lot of people don't want to trade with him, because when he does trade, it's most of the time just turns out to be a complete finesse on his part. You asked me who I think obviously Jalen and Jason are locked in. I'll put my unbiased hat on. I genuinely think they are All-Stars. Jalen for sure, Jason for sure. They're both averaging 26 plus. Jalen's shooting efficient. Tatum's shooting well. Kemba is doing bad. He's definitely not making an All-Star team. I'm not gonna defend my boy. He's struggling. I'm not gonna be like a bunch of people and ask him to be traded immediately. I think he's just coming back from an injury. He'll come back eventually. If he's not good after this year, then you could start talking trades. But right now, just let him be him. And there's really no one else on that team that deserves All-Star consideration. Smart, I don't think he could be an All-Star, but he's hurt, so definitely won't be an All-Star anymore. I only think those two have a definite chance of being All-Stars.
No Taco Fall?
I'm surprised he wasn't in the top 10. I think last year he was.
Taco
Fall, but he was a rookie.
Russo, All-Star captains next year.
Honestly, I mean, they probably should make an All-Star game this year. Like, okay, what players could we perhaps risk? Okay, throw in Taco Fall, throw in Alex Caruso, make it interesting. They don't want to risk LeBron.
I think one year eventually they're gonna have to stop LeBron because he's going to keep on getting the most votes. Like, he can't be a captain every single year. That's so lame. They have to have like other people.
But he's the best in the world.
No,
How
but
could he not be the
I'm not saying
hats
he
off,
deserves
best in the
vote.
world.
So
He doesn't deserve the votes, but I'm saying like they should have different captains. What I'm trying to say, instead of the same LeBron he's been the past 2 or 3 years, and
I think 3.
probably, if they do captains this year, he'll be it for 3 years in a row or 4 years. Whatever.
One thing I kind of like, and I mean, I'd kind of like to see this in the All-Star game, actually, even if they just do it for 1 year as a one-off. But what they do for this, or at least what they used to do for the celebrity All-Star game, where they have like Shaq versus Chuck pick the teams.
Oh.
I'd love to see that for like a regular All-Star game.
That'd be fun, yeah.
Or just East and West, bring it back. That'll be kind of interesting.
I think they went away from that, and it's a good point because they went away from that when it was just like the East was way worse than the West, so it wasn't fun, and that's why they switch it up. But I mean, it's a good point. The East and West are at least star player wise. This whole point of this, topic is about East versus West. But I think star player wise, it's pretty even if you think about it.
Yeah. I feel like most years in the East, you have to be like, okay, do we need to put George Hill on the All-Star team, or like, what do we need to do here? But
so you can miss free throws on the All-Star game.
I mean, that's true. West fans can easily just like vote for horrible Eastern Conference players. I'm not saying George Hill is horrible, but they can vote for horrible Eastern Conference players and vice versa, and then we'll end up getting the Zaza Pachulias, the Alex Caruso, Taco Falls being at the top of the leaderboard.
But then they just won't choose them. I mean, Taco Fall and Alex Caruso were top of the leaderboard last year, but they still weren't chosen for the All-Star game.
I'm just saying that I'm pretty
Adam
sure
Silver's smarter than that.
Starters like 75% play fans and like 10% players and
media too.
5% media, something like that. I know that fans have like a majority of the vote, but if it's like a not good player, they're gonna be like, yeah, no, it's not gonna happen. So, are you guys good?
Yeah, I mean, I've been studying literally before this. I just tried to research a tree. My teacher's like, "You see that tree out there? What type of tree is it? Find out." And I'm just like, okay, white bark, green on the top, lanceolate leaves, trident-shaped leaves, black seed pods with brown interior. I can't find it. And I'm just like, I'm talking to my partner, my triplet Eric, March 29th, 2003, bro. We're doing this, and we're just like, aren't we second semester seniors? And we're like, why do we care? We're like, Eric's like, I already got accepted to my first choice. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't really care at this point. So we just put it in a random tree. But yeah, an hour and a half down the drain.
Nice. Ben, you got anything?
I'm good.
All right. Fun. It was. I think it was like something we might do in the future. Let us know what you guys thought about that. We enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it too, let us know in the comments. Yeah, so thank you guys for your support. We surpassed 800 listens, which is very cool. We have a special episode for 1,000. When we get closer, we'll let you guys know what it is. But right now, thank you guys for your support always. We'll be back next Sunday. Yeah, Sunday at 8 o'clock Pacific. Until then, have a good week and see you next time.
49ers and 49!